I hope y'all had a wonderful 2025. I did not. I just didn't. So this is my 2025 recap. This is the first yearly recap that I'm doing on this channel. I started this channel last February, and my initial goal was to like totally fast track it and like try to monetize it within 6 months. Didn't happen. I really had trouble sticking with with my upload schedule, and that kept changing. So that's really where things kind of went south. There were just a lot of things that got in the way of prioritizing YouTube. And while YouTube is fun, and while I do still want to monetize this channel, sometimes there are just things in life that are more important than this. But I will say that this channel has had a very positive impact on my financial situation, because in spite of the fact that I do not have a very large audience, and probably will not for quite some time, I have noticed that it actually does impact how I spend my money. So I don't always break down my expenses for a paycheck budget. I don't always do exact numbers in my monthly recaps. But I have noticed from time to time, if I want to overspend, if I have that temptation, I will actually think in my mind, I'm going to have to put this on YouTube. I'm going to have to tell YouTube that I overspent. I'm going to have to tell YouTube that I shopped when I shouldn't have shopped. I'm going to have to tell YouTube that I didn't save as much as I wanted to. It's so weird because it's not like this channel is massive. I haven't checked my subscribers in the past like 2 days. I'm pretty sure I'm still at less than 35 subscribers, so please subscribe. But like, the fact that even crosses my mind has been hilarious to me, but it's been effective because I'm not going to come on here and say things on camera to make my situation sound better than it is, or to make it sound like I accomplished more than I actually did. Whether I give the real numbers or not, I'm going to be honest about the overall situation. And it actually has been a motivator to me. I want to do a monthly recap where I can honestly say, yeah, I hit this goal. I hit that goal. I stayed within budget on this. I stayed within budget on that. And that was something I did not expect when I started the channel. Another thing about my YouTube channel to note is that I initially wanted it to be about like general advice, things that have helped me, and I've really focused a lot more on my personal finances. I do want to stick with the YouTube channel name, I Want to Save Money, just because that's nice and clear and to the point, but I do want to kind of personalize it a little bit more in terms of the branding, change up the set a little bit. I like what I have. I don't know. I feel like the angle doesn't quite work, but having the camera farther back doesn't really work either. So I don't know. There's a few things I want to play around with, but I'm really happy with what I've done with it. I'm really happy with what I've built. I just want to make this a lot more personalized to me and have a lot of it be the kind of information that I would find interesting from somebody else. And that's kind of the frustrating balance of being a YouTuber, because it's like you're encouraged to find your ideal audience and make content for them. But then also, in order to avoid burnout and maintain motivation, you also kind of want to make the kind of content that you would want to watch. So finding the balance between those things when it comes to various money-saving topics has been quite a bit of a challenge, which is why a lot of the content has focused on plan with me's and budget with me's and monthly recaps. So while I really enjoy doing those things, and those things will still be a major part of the content, I do want to start doing more, coupon with me videos, shop with me videos, those kind of things, because that really is the heart of how you're actually saving money along the way. And I think that needs to be a bigger part of the channel. I didn't really do a whole lot of resolutions. I will kind of do monthly goals. Some months I won't. Most of my goals do not have to do with finances, though. I find that to be more of a distraction, or it will kind of skew how I'm budgeting in a way that's not good for me financially. So I have found that financial goals are not the best thing, at least on a monthly basis. So for me personally, I'm not a big fan of setting like a yearly financial goal. I don't think that's the best way for me to meet my goals. One thing I do want to change in 2026 is I definitely want to have a second income. I'm not unhappy with what I'm making. I'm definitely fairly compensated at my job. I'll be up for a raise in March or April. It's not going to be a whole lot, but like the last raise I got wasn't that much, and it made way more of a difference than I expected it to. So that should be a little bit of a help. But honestly, my biggest problem is that my expenses are a bit high for what I'm making. So I've kind of done what I can over the past few months in lowering expenses where I can. The next goals in January, February, and March, unless I have to move. Hopefully I will not. The problem with setting up a plan for the rest of the year financially is that my lease is up March 1st, and I was late several times. So I really don't know if they're going to renew my lease. I'm really worried about that. I think I'll be okay in terms of moving, but it's going to set me way, way, way back. Like, I really can't afford to do this right now. So if in the event that occurs, that would have a major impact on what I do going forward. Because while I've lowered my expenses, because I've been consistently behind, I've been paying a bunch of late fees and catching a bunch of interest charges. So I really want steady money on the side. Whether or not I ever monetize a YouTube channel is like almost besides the point at this point, because even when you reach that, in order to maintain anything that would be decent, even something like $200 a month, $300 a month, you really can't rely on AdSense to give you a consistent stream, even if your uploads are consistent. There's a whole lot to get into as to why that is. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that break down why you can't really maintain consistent income and what hurts and helps you and what categories do the best on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into it, but the bottom line is, even if I was monetized tomorrow, I don't think that would be quite what I need. So the problem with that is I still love and want to maintain my full-time job, but because I'm in management, I really need to maintain availability. So the problem I'm concerned with is finding a part-time that's going to work around that. Because some Saturdays and Sundays, I could work a part-time job in the mornings. Sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays, I could only work a part-time job in the evenings. And it's pretty much the same song and dance for every other day of the week. So I'm a little bit torn on what my best option would be to find some time of part-time work. My current phone does not have data, so most gig work is out the window right now until I upgrade my phone. I'm thinking of just starting with like surveys and secret shopping and stuff like that until I'm able to find some other source of income that is a little bit more frequent. I would certainly be open to remote work, but I just don't have a lot of the technical computer type skills that they're looking for those types of jobs. So I'm open to quite a few different things. I'd prefer to just get a part-time that I'm able to maintain for a while, at least 6 to 8 months, to put more into my emergency fund and just give me a bit more of a buffer every single month. But I'm at a point where I'm desperate enough where it's like, if I have to go from thing to thing, then that's what I have to do. I think I've relied on a single income for too long. I think I've kind of let myself get a bit lazy in that. If you have the money and you're set and you're good, then no, you don't need to do other things. But I do think that for a while, until I have a bigger emergency fund, more of a buffer between paychecks, and have the Jetta paid off and lower car insurance, until those things all happen, I really think I need to get and maintain a second income. Speaking of the Jetta, that is something I would like to pay off by the end of the year. The current plan I'm on is $235 a month, and I think that's for like 2 years to pay off the remaining balance. So paying it off in 2026 would be a little bit challenging. If I am able to get that second income though, that's totally doable. So that's a major motivating factor for me, because losing that $235 a month expense would be huge. Anything that I can remove from my expenses, that I can knock out, that I can take care of, would be such a massive help. My car insurance is too expensive. I've spoken about that several times in videos. So as I'm shopping around for cheaper car insurance, I also want to get to a point where I'm able to pay 6 months at a time, because that's another way that you can save. I just feel like the past several months I've gotten so behind on bills that I'm definitely in a phase where I'm like falling backwards. And it's like, I almost feel like it's like a scene from a movie where someone's falling backwards and they're just like grasping at the air while someone's screaming no, and you know, like that's the image I have in my head. And one thing I've noticed about my situation is I'm not terrible with money, but I will say that once I get behind, I stay behind. And I really, really struggle to get back to not living paycheck to paycheck and having a little buffer in my checking account between checks. I have like less than $20 in my checking account and I get paid in a couple of days. That's not a good situation to be in. Now, if I had a little bit more in my emergency fund, then it wouldn't be such concern, because it's like if something truly happened, I could take care of it. But I have very little in my emergency fund. So that's a big deal. Another thing I want to focus on in 2026 is donating to charity. But I do feel like I need to I need to prioritize getting my own situation together first. I'm a big believer that you should definitely make sure that your stuff is squared away before you start trying to give anything away and help other people. So I really don't have any type of plan in place in terms of when I'm going to start implementing this, or how much I'm going to donate, how frequently I'll donate, if it's going to be the same charities all the time, or what I'm going to do. But definitely something I'd like to change at some point, because of a lot of the stray cats that I've had around me in my own apartment. I've really become passionate about the stray animal situation, and it's so easy to go, oh, And it's so easy to scroll social media and see a picture of a sick animal and go, oh, I hope this cat gets rescued. I hope that cat gets rescued. I hope someone can step in and save that one. All of that costs money, and it's a lot. And it is hard work that these rescues have to do. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. I may even find myself volunteering. So that would probably be somewhere I start. Another charity, like maybe Habitat for Humanity or something like that, would be another charity I'd really like to prioritize when I'm able to. So that's not something that I plan to do right away in 2026, but at some point I would definitely like to make giving to charity a bigger priority in my budgeting. But that's pretty much it for my thoughts on 2026. For 2025, I did overspend. I overspent a lot. One thing I learned about myself is I definitely stress eat a lot more than I used to. And I think the reason it took me so long to realize that is because that's not something I've always done. It's definitely become more of a coping mechanism for me. So eating unhealthy is a problem in and of itself. But if you look back at a couple of my monthly reviews, I think there was one month I spent over $600 eating out. And there was another month I spent like $535 or something. Like, that is insane. For one single person, that's nuts. And I think it's just the situation at home and doing dishes all the time just really just pisses me off, to be frank. So I don't think it's just the fact that food has been a coping mechanism for me. I think it's also just the comfort and the mental load that's taken off of you when you're able to just go somewhere and sit down and have someone give you food. But that being said, towards the end of the year, that was something I definitely started to tackle. My food budget for December 2025 was only $200, and I only went over it by a couple of cents. So that's not bad. Definitely made some progress. But I would like eating food at home to be like the only food I eat for at least the first couple months in 2026. I don't know how I'm going to stick to that. I feel like that's going to be really challenging. There's going to just be days where I can't. So I'm sure there will be some money spent eating out, but I really want my budget to be as razor thin as possible on any expenses that I can control until I get some of these expenses lowered, or until I'm able to start maintaining a second income. And the last thing I want to say about 2025 is my tracking of expenses was kind of all over the place. So I started out using a budget book, and I make notes for the month, and then I budget by paycheck. And then in between those paycheck budgets, I will track each of my expenses and then see how I did. So that's how I started the year. Then I switched from a budget planner to a happy planner, and I was able to use like old inserts and everything. I didn't have to go out and buy anything new, so that was kind of cool. And then around September, I think I started using YNAB. The thing is with YNAB though, I don't hate it. I get why it works for a lot of people. I don't set up my plan. I don't give a crap. I don't care at all about their little system. It just doesn't work for me. Yeah, so I just use it to track my expenses. I just want to see the breakdown and the percentages without having to manually enter all of my expenses. That's literally it. So I feel like I can probably find something cheaper than YNAB. My subscription's good till September. It's a 1-year subscription, or October maybe. So I'm still within the first week of the year. I kind of feel like I may just go back to manual entry. I really just want to see the breakdown. So it's like, yeah, it's inconvenient, but if I'm struggling with money, why not just suck it up and enter my expenses manually and track things that way? It's what I was doing before, but it's like YNAB is $109 a month. So it's like, I think I'm just going to suck it up and just start manually entering all my stuff into what I was using before, which was a spending tracker. That was free. That was no problem for me. So I didn't really need to spend that extra money for my own convenience. I think it's a good program, and I'm glad I gave it a shot, but long term, I just don't see myself using something like this. So I will probably make a decision this week about what I'm using instead. But it's most likely going to be something free. Either I will go back to writing down my expenses by hand, which is really frustrating and annoying and I don't want to do, or I will just start manually entering everything into an app that tracks all that stuff. So that's pretty much all I got for this video. 2025 just wasn't a great year for me. 2025 had its positives, I guess you could say, but overall it was a pretty rough year for me, especially if you're talking finances. It was a very rough year for me financially. There were so many setbacks, and it was like every time I had some room to breathe or room to go do something fun, next thing you know, everything's falling apart. So I'm really frustrated that I'm not starting 2026 from a stronger point financially. That's I really wanted to be more caught up on things before 2026 started, and I just wasn't able to. But I'm going to stay on top of my budgeting. I'm going to stay on top of tracking my expenses one way or the other, and I will be adjusting my plans and my budgets as needed. And hopefully, as the year progresses and as I start making a little bit more money, I think that motivation is going to kick in. I'm definitely motivated to improve my situation financially this year. It's just going to take a lot of work and a lot of staying focused and making sure I'm not straying from my plan.